This is Angela Stanford. I'm coming to you live. I'm the founder and CEO of Vital Nutrition and Wellness, and we're going to have a guest come on shortly. I'm waiting for her to join us, Jeanine Newman.
Yeah. Welcome, Jeanine. It's so good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's wonderful that we can, as health practitioners, be able to share this time together, talking about a really important topic. So, Jeanine is joining today to be talking about colon hydrotherapy and how it's such a powerful tool to help improve digestion and overall health. And before we get started in having her share her story, I wanted to share a little bit about, well, first back up and just welcome everyone for joining us. This is new, fairly new for both of us. And so we appreciate you joining us and, hearing our stories, and feel free to ask, questions in the comments as well. Along the way, we'll be able to answer those. And we're going to have this wonderful conversation today about a very powerful therapy in the realm of health. I met Jeanine as part of, I actually met her predecessor first. Jeanine is the owner of Health2o, and I met her as part of, I met her predecessor first, Alice, when I was going through yoga teacher training a while ago, and wanted to learn about this world of colon hydrotherapy. And it was a phenomenal experience that allowed me to improve my digestion. And because of that, I now am able to have continued the therapy on and off throughout the years. It's been very helpful. But many of my clients do as well, because I work with, you guys know, but I work with people who are really struggling and battling with their digestive issues. And what she does is so important, which she'll share with you on how that her modality can help aid not only improving digestion, but just really helping people with chronic illness as well. So Jeanine, tell me a little bit about your story. Share with us your story. How did you get into colon hydrotherapy to begin with?
It cracks me up a little bit because when I was first a client, which began like 17 years ago, as a colon therapy client in general, I would ask the therapist, interesting line of work, how'd you get into this? Because it's pretty unique. It's niche, a little odd, and not something a lot of people might want to do. And they all had a story. They all would have a story about their own transformation. And that really stood out to me, never imagining that I would be the lady on the other end of the hose. But, life takes a funny turn sometimes. So I started as a client at the direction of my natural doctor, who was in Southern California. I was traveling back and forth from the Bay Area to see him because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis almost 18 years ago. And I had chosen to go to try a natural route. The medication that was prescribed for me was one with a lot of side effects and a lot of things that caused me concern. And so I was willing to try and very motivated. While I think I always tend towards the natural answer, I was very motivated to do that at that time, and just to see if there was something natural that could help me. So all that to say, though, I was very ill. I have multiple sclerosis is obviously an autoimmune disease, but it's your body attacking the myelin sheath around the nerves. So that means that you're not as protected. Those nerves aren't protected, and so nerves will misfire. So that's why there's such a variety of neurological issues that will come up from multiple sclerosis. And for me, I was having trouble walking and talking. I was also having some trouble with my right hand. I was limping significantly. There were times when it was so severe that I couldn't walk at all. The fatigue was debilitating. So I was a very sick girl. And so I was motivated to do some things. And as soon as I started seeing this natural doctor, I started seeing shifts in my body. So I was willing to continue with him and was seeing slow progress. But then about a year in, he said, now it's time to start detoxing, because I was so sick in the beginning. And he sent me for 3 colon hydrotherapy sessions at a place near his office down in Newport Beach, just 3 in a row, cleaning out surface layers, with the understanding that I would come back in a month and I would do a whole week-long fasting cleanse. And that is what changed everything forever for me. And so that's why I kind of became the poster child for all of this. But long before I worked here, I was a client here with Alice, was my therapist. Alice started this business, I think like 16 years ago now. And so I found her shortly after it had opened and started going, for a local place. And it's such a beautiful facility. And she was so lovely, and we became close really fast. So I was a regular client here for 10 years before I started working for her. And she came to a point, she was losing, she had just one other therapist who was moving away, and she was just stressed. And I said, what if I worked here? What if I helped you? Because I love this. Yeah, and right. So she helped train me, and then I got my certification, and immediately she was like, would you ever want to own a business like this? Knowing she should be thinking ahead to her retirement. Alice is now 82 years old, and she worked and took care of people here at Health2o until she was 80. And it was literally the closure that we went through for the pandemic that made it clear, this is the time. Now's the moment. We need to make this transition happen. It wouldn't be wise for her to be giving colon hydrotherapy sessions in her 80s. And so I became the grateful owner of this place, and so grateful because it has a beautiful vibe, and it has a beautiful reputation, and a long list of clientele from I've got thousands of people on paper, that are fine. Now we've got online booking. It's a little handier. It was getting out of control in that final file cabinet, but we modernized some things, but basically it's just the same place with that same legacy that I have the privilege to continue. And for me personally, to be able to work in the modality that was so significantly transformative in my life. And I should probably speak to that a little more in terms of that story. And that during after that week-long fasting cleanse, which I will say was not easy for me, because we call it detox for a reason. It's no joke. I didn't feel well going through it, but I was doing so at my doctor's with his encouragement and care. And after it was over, symptoms went away and never came back. And when you go through a week-long fasting cleanse, the reason to do that, every time we wash out the colon, then some of the contents of the small intestine are able to shift into the large intestine, which is the colon, because we've made some space. So if you can imagine not eating and adding to the contents of the large intestine, but washing it out on a daily basis, what that provides the opportunity for is for the small intestine to shift contents in on a daily basis and continue to shift that out of you. And since we absorb the majority of our nutrition, my nutritionist friend, we absorb the majority of our nutrition through the walls of the small intestine. For most of us, those intestinal walls are crowded. And so that nutrition's trying to get down a crowded hallway. But you're not able to absorb the nutrition you're taking in. So one of the immediate benefits for me is I knew, and I could literally feel that my body was finally able to absorb the nutrition that I was taking in. As well as when you do this specific cleanse, you're taking shakes. I say it like this because they're not delicious. It's just bentonite clay. It's not like, don't think chocolate, okay? But you're drinking these shakes throughout the day that have bentonite clay and psyllium. Bentonite clay is like a salve So if you have poison oak, you put bentonite clay on your skin, it's going to draw the poison out. But by ingesting bentonite clay, especially at the amount that you're doing here, and then washing that out every day. I would never do this cleanse without the colon hydrotherapy sessions. I've had people ask me like, I want to do the cleanse, but I can only come 4 days. It's like,
No.
I'm sorry, I won't do it. It's not, I have to wash that out every day. But what happens is you come to what's called mucoid plaque. And so all you listeners that are curious about all this and not too grossed out, you can go onto Google mucoid plaque images. Just don't do this while you're having dinner or anything, because it really
Right.
people post their photos, but it looks like someone made a mold of your colon and filled it with tar. And so what's fascinating is going through, for me, you know, imagine having been very sick, getting better, but like still very sick, when to go through a cleanse like that and to not have eaten for a week, and to still on day 8 to see yards and yards. And I'm not exaggerating. It's just paradigm shifting. It's like once you've seen, you can't unsee. You know what I mean? Like you see
Right.
all of this come out of you, and then simultaneously, as soon as it's over, everything changes. I had energy return I hadn't had for years prior to being diagnosed. I didn't know it was possible to feel this good. The limping went away. The brain fog went away. My words were clear. I was resting and sleeping well and feeling like I had rested, which just hadn't happened for so long. So there was no way I could live through something like that and not connect that shift and transformation in my health with what I just seen come out of my body. You know, it was so clear. It was just so clear. So that's why I'm here. And that was a lot of words to say, but that's why I do what I do. It was meaningful. And it's really, really exciting for me to be able to help people in that same modality that was so meaningful to me.
Oh, what a wonderful story. Thanks for sharing that. I think it's really important that people hear that the work that you do helps to make space for not only the healing process to happen, but the nutrition delivery too. Because a lot of my clients feel that they just need to push in more. How do I eat more? How do I take more supplements? How do I push more nutrition in? And it doesn't really work that effectively if there are these barriers that have built up over time. So you're really, you know, just wasting your energy and your money on these supplements and such if they're not actually being absorbed. Absolutely. So it's really important that that, you know, this process of not only knowing what goes in, but what comes out as well, right?
True.
Yeah. And on that note, you shared a little bit about how, you know, the small intestine and the colon are connected, but maybe you could tell us, you know, what's a session like?
Sure.
So that our viewers would understand that, because a lot of people just don't know.
Absolutely. I would say the majority of clients that come in for the first time come in with a bit of anxiety about it, because it is an unusual, you know, therapy, and it just sounds daunting and scary. And I pride myself in the fact that my staff and I were really good at helping move people through that anxiety and make it as comfortable an experience as possible. And then those clients, and I tell everyone, you're only going to feel that way the first time. It's because it's an unknown. You won't come in with anxiety, and usually people leave and stand at the desk and go, oh my goodness, I had no idea that I could feel this empty and light and good. And they feel some immediate shift, right? But a session is about 45 minutes of actual therapy time. We here at Health2o, we allow an hour and 15 minutes for the session though, so that all of our clients have all of the time and privacy that they might want in a restroom afterwards. Each of our therapy rooms here, again, super blessed. Each of our therapy rooms has a dedicated bathroom with a bidet. So you have that time and privacy afterwards when you need it. But your first session begins with the therapist giving you an introduction, just you know, answering questions, showing you the speculum and all that sort of thing, and explaining what's going to happen. And then we send you into a restroom. We have shorts here at Health2o that were Alice's signature design. They're basically, they're just boxers shorts with the back cut out. And ever since I've been working here, I'm the one that buys the boxer shorts from Old Navy and literally takes out the seam and sews them back up myself. But we do that. I know when I first started doing colon therapy in Southern California, it was just a drape over you and it didn't feel so honest and private. And so these are just really nice. So we'll have you empty your bladder, put your shorts on, and then you'll come in and lay on the table on your left side. Usually that's just for the beginning of the session, for that insertion. Now, by law, the client does the insertion themselves, but the therapist helps with that. Hand can be on your hand to make it super simple and clear where we know what we're doing and we make sure it's done correctly. And then, and that speculum will have two hoses basically attached to it. There's a clean water hose and there's a waste hose. So basically either there's very filtered water, either we're slowly filling you with clean water through the clean water hose, or your body's pushing that water back out through the waste hose. The two aren't running in and out of your body at the same time. Now, this is what we have is closed system colon therapy. There's also an open system which works differently, and that's why I always explain it to clients that way. But what we do, there's a therapist in the room with you the whole time, and either we're filling you with clean water or your body's pushing that water back out. And that process will be repeated several times throughout a session based on the client's needs, what they're feeling. We've got a pressure gauge we're carefully monitoring, but the client is also the pressure gauge. We're going by what your needs are. So there's no suction involved. It's much more gentle than that. And then while the body's releasing, here at Health2o, we put some oil in our hands and we do some work on the abdominal wall. And that's to help release fecal matter from the walls of the colon. Much like a massage therapist would, you could think of it as that. We're not massage therapists, so we never use the word massage, but we're working on that abdominal wall, helping to shift things for you. And people, and I tell everyone, if you hate this part, I don't have to do it, but we find it really productive for the session and you will too. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I like what you just did, like that just happened. So it's very, very clear. So that's why, yeah, while we call this like colon therapy is like the modern luxury, modern day version of an enema, of the old timey remedies. But you have the benefit of a lot more water, a lot more time and focus, and a trained certified therapist working with you to help you actually release. So, and when we were closed during the pandemic for 7 months, I became the enema hotline because I was teaching everyone how to give themselves enemas at home. And that's a great thing to do if you can't do colon therapy, I understand, but it's also what we do is just, it's just more effective. It just is.
Yeah.
So does that answer that question?
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to help people understand what they expect. Because I know when I went in the first time, I was also very anxious. I was just like, what is going on? What is going to happen? I have no idea. And I mean, all your practitioners, yourself, Alice, everyone they're just so, and I think that's because you allow that extra time. You come in and you come in with a very calm demeanor that helps us feel at ease. Confidence and calm demeanor that helps us feel at ease. And it's actually a very simple, holistic cleaning process with water that gets amazing results. That's really what it is. It's just that it's a little awkward the first time, and you help put people at ease. The other thing that I find really important, maybe you could touch on, is there's a very simple prep, maybe just the food part of it. Just there's a simple prep to a couple days beforehand too,
right?
Just to share a few
about
that.
Us, we send a protocol, and it's a very simple protocol. It's not a difficult one. It's just a list of foods we recommend that you avoid for a day or two before the session and the day of the session and after if you can, just to allow for the most productive session, most comfortable session. If you come in having had foods that you know are constipating for you, drink alcohol the night before, that slows your system down. We don't want anything to detract from this incredible opportunity and the money that you're spending to help clean yourself out, right? So, you don't want to have a steak and a bottle of wine the night before, so it's really just avoiding things that maybe to me feel really obvious, white bread and white rice, and bananas are the only fruit that we say stay away from. Those can be really binding as well.
Mhm.
Red meat. So things like that. So that
Yeah.
comes in and it's also on our website. We have I'm so proud of our website. I spent the time on the FAQ page, and there's a question there that asks, how do I prepare for my session? And so I have like that list there, as as well, some more, just more
Yeah.
information about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's another, like I said, confidence builder and putting you at ease, because there is this like, well, if I do this and she walks me in, it's all going to be good. And it is. It just works
Yeah.
out really, really well that way.
Yeah.
I'm curious, and I think our viewers might be too, about, you've been doing this a while now, and I'm curious to see a couple of things. One, other types of clients that come to see you. Is it autoimmune disease? Is it, digestion? Maybe a couple of, could you share those?
Yeah.
And then what you've learned along the way over the years.
Okay. The spectrum is broad for who we see come into Health2o, for sure. I would say, we all levels of health and unhealth. We have people that are dealing with very serious illnesses that they're trying to heal naturally. We also have people that are, I just had someone call recently who's been going through radiation, and she wants to flush those toxins out of her body. And then we have professional athletes, people that understand my body's a machine. I need to get tuned up. I need to be in optimal condition to do what I do. So it's just really all over the spectrum. But I would say the most frequent calls that we get, or maybe the most frequent reason that people think to like take this step,
check you out,
because of constipation. Because they're having digestive distress, and most frequently constipation makes people think of this because somebody will tell them, oh, you can get that washed out of you and you're going to feel better. And so it's funny. There's TikTokers talking about this now. There's, YouTubers. There was a Real Housewives episode that I get clients because of that. I've never watched that, but it's just funny. So people are talking about it more, which is great. But I always want people to understand that, like my story, it is for so much more than just that. I was not having digestive distress with all my other MS symptoms to speak of. Now, everything I understand now, I just didn't know it at the time. Everything is related to our digestion. And I feel like my story is such a good picture of that. And that's why with new clients, I'm often telling it, because I feel like it helps to make that connection, especially because it's neurological. If I had had IBS, or if I'd had Crohn's or something that people connect to digestive distress, then this makes more sense. But what's fascinating, I think, and what helps people to make that connection is that we hear all the time our bodies want to heal themselves. And we hear, at least in the natural health world, we do, right? And we hear that it all starts in the gut. And I feel like because I have a neurological disease, I still have scar tissue on my brain and my spine. I had to have an MRI about almost 6 years ago now. And I hadn't had one for 10 years. Like, I felt like I know what I need to know, and I don't want to get in that tube, and I'm getting better, but like I had to actually do it. And I was so glad I did. Not only did I get to hear my neurologist say, keep doing whatever it is you're doing, what we always want to hear.
Right.
It was, and she knew I'd never had a day of the medication that she had prescribed for me. But also I could see the scans for myself. And I could see, whereas there was a scan from, and I use my hands here, because I do that a lot naturally, apparently. The one I'd had like 10 years prior to that, and then the one that I had 6 years ago. So 10 years distance between them. And before that one from 10 years ago, my scans were changing. They were growing, they were morphing, the scar tissue is changing. But between this one and this one, 10 years in between, completely the same. And I could tell my neurologist was pretty excited about that too. And I know what I did that stopped it. So what it said to me, and what I like to use that story to really communicate with my clients, is that it's like my body, that scar tissue is still there. That same scar tissue that was causing me to limp and struggle finding words and
Mhm.
so tired and debilitated, I couldn't function and take care of my children. That same scar tissue, it's still there, but my body's rewired around it. You know, we hear about neuroplasticity
Mhm.
and the ability of our bodies to change things. Well, really what I did was address my gut health. And by doing that, by cleaning out all those old toxins out of my body, I made the way for my body to rewire around that. So it's still there, but I don't respond to it like I used
Right.
to. And
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Now I've
Ab-
continued to do that cleanse because I believe in it. I became, you know, obviously here I am, you know, I
Right.
believe, but you know, that's amazing that it does that. So I do want people to understand that, that it's not just for the constipation. Also, I wanted to say that for, I'll have clients that'll say, yeah, I didn't think I needed this because I have diarrhea. You know, after
Mhm.
often a lot of people, you know, we have the different kinds of IBS or whatever, and people think, well, my body's flushing that out of me all the time. However, and I am not a doctor and I'm always the first one to remind everyone of that, but I have to speak from my experience of seeing over and over and over again that often the reason that we are having diarrhea is that it's clogged in there. It's that
Mhm.
there's waste, especially in the transverse colon. Now, the colon goes up on your right side, that's the ascending colon, across your body in the middle, that's the transverse colon, down your body on the left side, that's the descending colon. The transverse colon, that part that goes across, is where the body absorbs out the water, and that's what causes solid fecal matter to form. So if you can think of it this way, when you have food poisoning or something and your body's like, need that out of you, pushes it straight through, right? There's no transit time. That awful thing that you ate, it's not sitting in your colon, it's just pushing it out of you right away because your body knows we need this out of here, right?
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that there's not waste still in transverse colon. And I have had too many clients come in and say, I've been having diarrhea, but I went to the doctor and the doctor did an x-ray and said I'm full of fecal matter in my transverse colon, right? So
Mhm.
I love this metaphor. It's not mine. I heard it somewhere else, but I repeat it a lot. And that is that if you could picture traffic on the freeway, cars are sitting there, but the motorcycles, they can make a path. They can get through. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean the traffic's not still sitting there. And so what I found just so many times is that if we can really take the time and clear out that transverse colon and the whole colon in general, people start having regular formed bowel movements because the transit time is longer. That undigested food that's coming in from the small intestine, it comes in liquid form. But if it spends enough time in your colon, then you don't have, it can really ease. Now, there's many reasons to have constipation. I'm not saying that's the only reason. I just have to point it out in my experience because it's happened so frequently.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you shared that because again, I have those same type of clients coming in and they're coming to me for either, you know, bathroom urgency or they're not in the bathroom enough or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is really it's, you know, sometimes people feel that it's, well, it passes, I'm not constipated, I'm fine, but you're in the bathroom 6 times a day. Well,
Right.
yeah, and they are still having the same symptoms: low energy, can't sleep well, sometimes their hair is falling out. There's a whole
Sure.
sorts of things that can be going on in addition to the skin issues, and we don't have, that's a whole nother discussion for us at another time.
Yeah.
But you know, part of my healing process, which a lot of my viewers may not know about, is at the time I was going through this yoga teacher training, I was also finding I had urticaria or hives all over my body, and we were trying to figure out why. And that's how I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's.
Mm-hmm.
And so through the course of that, through natural therapies, was trying to heal myself. Again, colon hydrotherapy is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this connection that I see with my clients all the time is there is a disconnect between thinking that what's showing up on their skin is just on their skin.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, what I have found with my clients, it's totally related to the gut.
Of
When
course.
you work on either what you're putting in or cleaning yourself out,
it goes away. And of course, working on your stress around that. But again, a whole nother topic that we can talk about. But yes, again, thank you for sharing that, and just giving everyone you know, an insight or a little step into your world, and what it is that you do, and piquing curiosity, I think, with a lot of people, to just help them, think, this could be for me. This could be for me. This is something that I think is, I really am curious about how it can help me, because clients people go through so many different ways of trying to help themselves from what they hear, or they've been from doctor to doctor and they're not quite feeling better, because they just haven't found the right therapy that's going to help them.
Yeah.
So, one last question, and then we'll wrap things up. But I am just curious about, maybe you could share, what is the thing you like the most about what you do?
I love this place. I love the sweet vibe and the energy here, and we're very intentional to keep it really clean and clear. And I love my clients and that I work with. We all the other day, I was the last one working. The other two were leaving, and before Shauna left, I heard her say, "I love you, see you next week. Love you, Jeanine," through my door. I said, "You," and then Faria left a little bit later. She said the same thing. My client on the table went, "Wow, there's a lot of love in here," and I'm like, that's
there is.
And that's what allows us to really offer that, and I feel like I like to find a way to connect with people. People come from all walks of life in here, all places from all over the world, and all different ideologies and things. And we have more in common than we have that's different. And I love finding those connectors. And, some people make that more of a treasure hunt than others, but I take on the challenge of let's find a way to connect. And then there's people who don't want to talk at all. And so I love the ability to hold space for people for what their needs are. And I love that I get to see these transformations happen. I also wanted to say, it made me think of it when you were asking about what I've learned, and as a therapist, and that connects back to the clients. Just because I've seen how real that connection between our emotional and our mental health and our gut health are. And I will have clients who will ask me partway through a session, why do I feel like I want to cry? And I've been saying that colon therapy is the clearest metaphor for releasing the things that no longer serve us. I'm yoga teacher certified as well, so we can speak in the same language here. And it's just it is so true that we are so connected. I feel like I'm finding myself helping people just to broach the idea that maybe if you're holding things in your gut, maybe you're holding things in, and because I know part of my healing also, I'd love to see that pie chart. If there is an afterlife where I get to know these things, I'd love to know. But I know it was a huge piece of the pie is what I did in colon therapy, but also working with my therapist. And you mentioned, emotional health and stress, and that it is just so affects. If we're having a meal while we're arguing with our partner, we're not going to digest that food very well. And similarly, if our gut is full of old waste and toxins, we don't feel well. I get to hear people all the time talk about just the mood boost that they get, the clarity that they I feel like the world's a better place all of a sudden. And it is just,
the colors are brighter. I hear that too.
True. I hear that all the time. Colors are brighter. I feel like I love everyone. It's true there, and that it's just such a good picture of that gut brain connection. It's real. It's and I get to witness that and help people find that, and that just makes me happy. So yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Again, thanks for sharing that. And
absolutely.
Yeah, Jeanine, can you tell us how, our viewers can get a hold of you if they want to learn more, possibly book a session with you?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way is that website I mentioned that I'm really proud of, and that's at health2o.net. So maybe we can put that in comments or something, but it's the word health spelled out, the number 2, the letter O.net. So not a 0, it's not health 20. It's like a play on the term, on the, abbreviation for water, H2O. So
Mm-hmm.
health2o.net.
If I can make it happen.
Yeah,
Health2o.
it later too if you need to.
Yeah.
But we have online booking. We have a lot of questions on there answered, and you can just book right from there. And you can also contact us through the website as well. And we're happy to reach out and return calls and things as well. So